What's going on, everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of the Rondo. I'm Ryan, and rejoined this week, back from his exodus to Canberra, Josh. Welcome back. I kept the seat warm for you, and a few fans were calling for me to boot you off the show.
Ooh.
One really excited comment went, "Yo, give Josh the boot."
Well, that's the quality of discourse that your co-host last week brings to the program. He attracts those sort of people.
Yeah. It was a very, I don't know how much you watched of it. He was very critical of you, but I am standing by my boy. It doesn't take one episode to get rid of him. How was your trip, though? How was your break? Was it nice to have a break from the toxic Rondo atmosphere?
Yeah, it was nice to escape, get up to the clean, fresh air of Canberra, where they don't really know what COVID-19 is, and nobody wears masks anywhere. It's it's like a free city, and I'm glad to steer clear of the uneducated opinions for a week at least.
Did you catch much of what Yaz said?
Oh, no. You think I was going to watch that?
Yeah.
Why would I subject myself to my own abuse? It's like when you're at a red light and somebody tells you to roll down your window so they can yell at you. Like, why would I do that?
Yeah. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. He did go hard in the paint, but
I saw one Instagram clip, but you know what social media is like. It's
Yeah,
toxic. It will serve you things that it knows will make you angry.
Yeah.
So I blame Mark Zuckerberg for that one.
Yeah. Well, look, he did go pretty hard in the paint on you this week. We talked a lot about Manchester United. And look, today, no surprises. We're going to be talking a lot more about Manchester United.
Welcome to the Manchester United podcast.
Yes. And look, we're going to start there. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's been given the boot, sacked after, I think, 5 defeats in 7 games.
I'm like Kermit the Frog here with my tea.
Yeah. Sipping the
That
Manchester
ain't none of my
United.
business.
What are your initial thoughts about the sacking? When you came over, you talked about that exit interview almost that he did, which I thought was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking to watch.
You got sucked in by that?
Yeah, because United, if for anything, they might be terrible on the pitch. What they do well is the storytelling and the pushing of brand. And that exit interview was very tough to watch.
You know what's in this mug, Ryan?
What?
Ole's tears.
Oh, my
Let's take a big
days.
sipperoonie here.
Okay. Well,
So salty.
so salty.
But so sweet.
Oh, my God. Yeah, and when you got the news, right, you sent me Fabrizio Romano's tweet. And you sent me the tweet. And you sent me one word after. So.
And I have to be excited to quote Cristiano Ronaldo.
100%. Did you watch the performance? What did you think about the performance? And obviously, did you see this coming?
Well, I mean, everybody saw it coming. I'm surprised that Ole managed to be so incompetent that he was sacked before the last few weeks of the season. That's not usually what the board wants to do. Apparently, it took them 5 hours in a meeting to decide to sack him.
Yep.
What are they talking about for 5 hours? We cover it in 20 minutes on this podcast every week. Guys, this could have been an email. We don't need to have this meeting. He's not good enough.
Yeah.
Look, that exit interview, he was very emotional. He loves the club.
Yeah.
But
You're cold.
fans love the club. Everyone who pays for a season ticket in Stretford End loves the club. You love the club. Doesn't mean you should be the manager.
Yeah. I mean, holler at your boy. But
Yeah, look, he's obviously a nice guy.
Yeah.
But the job's too big for him. I thought it was a bit cringy, to be honest.
Yeah.
What other serious football club does a emotional exit video with the guy that they've just sacked?
Yeah.
And mutual termination. Yeah, that's the wording of the contract.
Yeah.
That's what your agent's there for, to make sure that it says mutual termination.
Yeah.
Have agreed to part ways, but he's sacked. He's been sacked.
Yeah.
I'm guarantee there was a compensation payout on that one. So
A very healthy one.
look, I'm happy to see the back of him. I don't think it necessarily changes the equation for United completely. Depends who they get in, of course. At the moment, it's Carrick, his assistant.
The interim to the interim.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, the office assistant to the region. This is the interim to the interim.
We know how easily United legends on TV are swayed by 2 or 3 good results for a new coach. We saw it with Ole.
Yeah.
Michael Carrick just needs to win a couple of games and have a competent plan for what to do with and without the ball. And Rio Ferdinand's going to go crazy. It'll be Carrick's at the wheel. Gary Neville's going to ask him where he wants the statue built. He's embarrassing this stuff.
Yeah.
United is a big club. They've got to have higher standards. They've got to be more serious than this. And all of the storytelling and social media around Ole's exit, I found quite embarrassing. You know, they are obsessed with social media metrics at the club, and I'm sure that all of the hate comments underneath every United loss, every full-time graphic, are all rolled into a spreadsheet and sold to an advertiser saying, look, we got 7 billion interactions for the month of October. Doesn't matter what those people are saying. United's brand is being damaged by this continuous losing and this continuous dropping of standards, and Ole leaving is one step in the right direction to alleviate that.
Look, I was part of that crew where we came back in Paris against PSG. I remember in his first season in the Champions League, and Rashford hit that penalty. I was working at a university. I wasn't sure if I should say who, but anyway. So I was working at university at the time. Was I watching highlights at my desk? Yes. Did I run around the office when it happened? Yeah, I did. Am I sorry? No. But I think what is most telling, right? I watched the game against Watford. Donny van der Beek deserves his flowers. That second half performance he put in was sublime. Not just the goal, but the way he changed the tempo, dictated the play, and it's almost, for me, fitting that he scored the last goal of Ole's era, because it was a different team in that second half. And until Harry Maguire made that mistake, got himself sent off, it looked good. It looked good. And my question to you is, did he just lack the awareness to see the resources that he had to make the full use of them? Or was he just being bitter and just was like, you're not playing, and he just didn't have the goal to have those tough conversations?
It's an interesting question. I think Donny scoring the last goal of Ole's reign is like that meme, turned up my hater's funeral just to make sure he was dead. Like, the final nail in the coffin for Ole, the parting shot, is the guy that he sidelined and refused to give an opportunity in the first team. But it was clear that Donny van der Beek, whatever performance analyst they have at the club or the numbers gurus would say, this is a really good player, we should sign him. He's available at a competitive price, but at 30 million pounds, which for a blue chip midfielder is a good price.
Great steal.
The Man United legend and Ajax sporting director Edwin van der Sar penned an open letter. I think they took up a full page of a newspaper saying, treat him well, you've got a gem. And United have treated him like absolute trash.
Ole took that and used it.
Wiped his ass with it. And look, Donny is clearly a player whose intelligence off the ball and the runs that he makes will improve United considerably. But it was clear that when he was signed, Ole didn't have a plan of where to fit him into the team. If you look at that Ajax side under Ten Hag, it was Frankie de Jong at number 6, and Van der Beek was actually the most advanced midfielder in a 3. So he had the freedom to be able to break into the box and play quite high up the park, and that actually took pressure off the playmaking duties of Frankie de Jong at 6 because it drew players away from him and allowed him to go 1v1 in dribbling situations in the middle of the park, and he could just beat players, and as soon as he beats one, the whole field is opened up. So Van der Beek's ability to make decoy runs and also arrive in the box late and be the free player, the spare player that defense doesn't pick up, was a transformative influence on that Ajax side that made it all the way to the Champions League semi-finals. With Bruno Fernandes in the team, if you make those runs beyond the strikers sometimes or up to the edge of the box, into the box constantly, you're playing that high up the park, who's guarding against the counter-attack? So United clearly don't have an obvious way to incorporate both of them. And Van der Beek, unfortunately, because Fernandes is who he is as a player, Bruno's not going to suddenly play as a 6. Van der Beek is going to have to adapt, much like de Jong has had to adapt into a different role at Barcelona because Busquets is in the way. So does it change the equation completely? I'm not sure it does. United still don't have a number 6. But Van der Beek in the team, Jadon Sancho in the team, potentially with a coach who can maybe prepare some sort of combination play and some planned moves in attack. That will help. And I think Sancho's also better on the right-hand side.
And he looks great. When Van der Beek came on, I think he got a bit more service, a bit more interplay. Notice the first half, Jadon Sancho got the ball. Everyone just stood off and expected him to do some techie moves on that was like cage ball in London or something to get out of those situations. It made no sense what was happening. And I just thought that second half with Donny van der Beek and Sancho whipping that cross, for a moment there was a glimpse of what it could look like if the resources were being used appropriately.
Yeah. And Jadon Sancho is an incorporative player. He's not Ronaldo circa like 2006 doing step overs and taking players on 1v1. That's not... He's better thought of as a playmaker out wide as opposed to a winger, because the traditional stylistic qualities of a winger at United, a sort of classic number 7 or whatever, is a player who beats his man and puts a cross in. And Jadon Sancho is not that player. He's a player who likes to play little quick wall passes and quick combinations. And yeah, he can dribble past somebody, but he's better at doing it in the context of a greater move where...
rather than an isolated move.
Rather than... and on the run as well, on the move, as opposed to get the ball, stop dead, look up, see nothing, and then try and beat the player from a standing start. That's not really Sancho's game. So he's looked like a fish out of water because United haven't recognised what makes him a good player or haven't built the team to support him as he had at Dortmund, where they've always got an overlapping fullback to take a player away from him. They've always got combination play that's heavily rehearsed, and he's one of the most productive players in the world when it comes to chance creation when you have the structure around him and players he can combine with, like Van de Beek. So those two very much on the same wavelength. I think it will improve United, but then there's still a presence up front, of course, who seems to dictate everything in terms of not only playing style and attributes, but also in terms of personality and influence. Ronaldo's sort of bigger than the club now.
Yeah.
Ronaldo is, multi-time Ballon d'Or winner, biggest star in the world, biggest social media following in the world. And Manchester United is a club who's won nothing since 2013.
Yeah.
So Ronaldo, his presence, and also that of Alex Ferguson, who's still getting suit fittings at Carrington and calling Ronaldo on transfer deadline day, looms large over this club. So I still don't envy the manager who eventually takes over this permanent post.
And it's a big job, whoever takes over. Like since Sir Alex has retired, no manager has been able to create the same kind of success, that legacy. And before I touch on the manager, do you think Ronaldo is now going, should I have come back? Or should he have gone to somewhere else like a City?
I think Ronaldo is a player who doesn't suffer regrets because his self-belief is so extreme. Oh, yeah. And he's a very wealthy individual as well.
Yeah.
He's someone who I think he's a bit... he's one of those people who tries to block out negative energy. That seems to be his kind of personality. He's I don't listen to the haters. Yeah. There was a whole Nike ad campaign around it. Your hate makes me stronger or whatever. So I don't think he even listens to criticism. Yeah. That's part of his unshakable self-belief.
Yeah.
And that has pluses and minuses. Some players who have, I guess, more humility about their games don't try and do too much. Whereas Ronaldo is always trying something. He's always shooting from like ridiculous distances, or he's always trying to be decisive in games in every moment, which is sometimes not helpful to the team dynamic, because sometimes you just have to play a simple layoff back to the midfield and rotate it around the other side and start again. Like he's always a bit like Bruno Fernandes a little bit, trying to play killer balls, always trying to shoot. And that's born out of a belief that he can do no wrong and he is the greatest player in the world. And it also leads to him scoring amazing goals and never, I guess, admitting that the game is up. And those dramatic comebacks we're seeing in the last minute is, I guess, a consequence of that as well. So there's pluses and minuses. I'm not sure if there is a manager out there who can get away with benching him without kicking up a storm, who can get away with... maybe marginalising his role in the build-up play and just having him as, say, hanging out on one flank and waiting for the ball to come into the box. A manager who can make Ronaldo a bit part player in terms of minutes, or a bit part influence in terms of build-up, and just use his qualities at this age. He's, 38 now?
36.
So, well, he plays like he's 38. I don't know if that manager is out there, because you're going to really kick up a stink if you bench. Look at Pochettino, still linked with the job at PSG. every time he substitutes Messi in the game, not even benches him, but substitutes him, an aging player who at the 60 or 70th minute mark can usually use a rest. Every time he takes him off, Messi blanks in, there's no handshake. The footage goes viral. Yep. Every TV show is saying, is there a rift between Pochettino and Messi? And the same thing will happen to the next United coach. It's a burden having these guys now because they're so famous. They're bigger than the clubs. They're almost bigger than the sport. They're transcendent. And that's kind of a burden now because they're both past their peak.
Yeah. And so with that being said, who do you think is the likely... I mean, that's the big question, right? Like names. And this is really funny because there are the names that you get like Pochettino, Ten Hag and stuff like that.
Zinedine Zidane. Who doesn't even speak English.
English.
There is zero possibility that Zinedine Zidane is going to take over at Manchester United.
But when you talk about a manager that's to come in that has to have a stature, right? Because now you have a changing room with possibly the biggest ego in football, but some of those other players are superstars in their own right and have egos as well. To be able to come in and take control of a dressing room of that nature, you have to be a big manager by, in the same light. And so names like, does Poch carry that weight? Because even though he plays attractive football, right, hasn't won trophies.
I don't know if he does play that attractive football.
I mean, that's what he's
subjective, I suppose. But
can someone like Ten Hag come in with the work that he's done at Ajax? The success that he's had in kind of building a team from scratch, and and Ajax are a selling club, right? So having to have turnover each year with players, and even before we like settle on this is going to be the manager full time, the interim manager who's going to come in, see the job out, that's also up in the air. And I've heard names from pundits, including Steve Bruce as someone that could come in, which
former United legend, of course,
and
scored double figures from centre back in a Premier League campaign.
And look, like they've been throwing around a lot of former United players. Rooney got asked about it in his post-match conference for Derby.
Come on now,
it's getting silly.
Yeah,
it's getting silly, and it just shows a lack of planning as well. To go in before the international break, knowing that Antonio Conte is available, someone with a winning pedigree. You've chosen to stick with your guy, and 2 weeks you've gone, you know what, plans have changed, but there's no succession plan. Usually when a manager gets fired, the entire staff go with him, right? Everyone has stayed apart from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So what does that suggest? Is that it was just not a well thought out decision. Who's the most likely to come in as interim manager in your mind? Because I am still
stumped.
I don't know who is there.
Speaking of succession plan, instead of the Amazon doco, I want the United doco, but it's HBO Succession. There's no plan. There is no plan. There's obviously no joined up thinking. As you pointed out, we're sticking with Ole. We're not going to pay Conte. A mercenary coach, as Gary Neville called him. Fat load of good that did. He would have been perfect because he's a guy who doesn't suffer fools. He's going to impose his methodology and be incredibly disciplined about where he wants his players to be on the field in relation to the ball in both attack and defense. They do these hours-long tactic sessions where he sets his team. It's 11v0. It's called shadow play, I think he calls it. And it's literally just ball goes over here, you have to be here. And sometimes he's walking out into the middle of the field and basically walking people across and saying, no, you're here.
Yeah.
And it's really specific. It is really heavily scripted, but players know what their jobs are.
Shadow play sounds like a weird foreplay.
I prefer not to speak.
Yeah.
We talked about Pochettino. He's in a job at the moment, pretty glamorous one.
Yeah.
Is it a placeholder before he goes for the United job? I don't know. Maybe he'll get sacked by PSG.
But it sounds weird to say that PSG is the placeholder job.
But coaches don't enjoy it, though. It's funny. You look at Tuchel, for example. He's been given a new lease of life at Chelsea because these players actually listen to him. When he was in the dressing room with Mbappe and Neymar, it was just vibes FC. And he has to play a centre-back and two holding midfielders.
Maybe Ole should go to PSG. Vibe with vibe.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think the players would have a fun time.
Yeah.
No rules. Anything goes.
Go out there. Just live a little.
Neymar can go fly to Brazil to go to his sister's birthday party. No problems.
That's it.
That could work. But coaches don't seem to like PSG. I think Thomas Tuchel going to Chelsea and having a team that actually was receptive to his methods was a relief because he was having to basically compromise on his philosophy because these three guys didn't defend. So he was basically blocking up the midfield with three guys who kick shins and take names instead of guys who can pass. And with Verratti injured, that team was hard to watch. So it was just individual brilliance that got them to the Champions League final. And they almost won it playing some pretty ordinary stuff. Whereas at Chelsea, you can see his vision of football come to fruition with 11 players who work for the team. Maybe the United job represents a similar environment. I'm not sure, but
I think there's a famous
there's
quote.
no obvious coach for the position is my point.
Yeah, and I think like Jurgen Klopp mentioned this, and if I'm misquoting, then I don't know.
Sue me.
Fuck.
Don't sue us.
I have no money, so
it's not worth it.
And he mentioned that like, I think he interviewed for the job before, like when he left Dortmund before he signed for Liverpool, and he mentioned something about whether I think it was him or his wife said that they were like a Mickey Mouse club. I think like a Disneyland Mickey Mouse club, just the way they were being run. And I think this is another example of just a club run just with no plan. Yeah, you know, and
the directors of football are bankers.
But the branding is elite and the storytelling is elite, right? Disneyland looks amazing. Like, it's so fun. Mickey Mouse and them and all just vibing and hanging out, and you have soft drink, and then you rock up and the lines are 5 hours, and you're like, the fuck am I doing here? And I feel that this is an example of that, where 2 weeks ago, Ollie was in front of the press saying, look, I've spoken with the owners. We're cool. We're on the same page. We're going to see this through. And then 2 weeks later, you go, see you later.
Spoken like a man scarred by his experience at Tokyo Disneyland.
It was, look, lines are not, it's just not worth it. But the branding is on point. Yeah.
The image from the outside looks great until you start to look a little closer.
Yeah.
There's no obvious candidate for the job. They should have gone for Conte. Zidane's unemployed, but he's hanging out for the France job after Deschamps either gets sacked or, after the 2022 World Cup, I think he's probably going to leave that position anyway.
Yeah.
So Zidane's going to coach France. And I don't even know if Zidane's a good coach. Obviously, he's got an incredible record, but it's very specific to Real Madrid, right?
Yeah.
He
Guess who wants Zidane at United?
Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, look, he obviously found a way to maximize Ronaldo. I would say that's by making him peripheral to the build-up play. And Benzema being basically the incorporative striker, an elite midfield. Casemiro, Modric, Kroos is like, it's like the roof of the Sistine Chapel of midfields.
Yeah.
So, they had a lot of advantages in their favour. United doesn't have a Casemiro. They sorely need one.
Yeah.
So it's not the same setup, but I think he would try and maybe work with Cavani as the kind of hold-up player and maybe play a two-striker system. That's what I would see him doing if he was to coach Ronaldo again.
Yeah.
But he doesn't speak English. He's hanging out for the France job. I can't see him walking into this mess.
Imagine him and Harry Maguire trying to work out what's going on the pitch.
I mean, Zinedine Zidane in Manchester. Can you imagine it?
That's not.
Why would you go there? He's already made it. He doesn't have to work. It's like...
Doesn't need it.
He doesn't need the headache.
My pick, just to bring an end to the United chat.
Yeah.
I think Ronaldo player manager. I'm sure that's the next step for him.
What if Ronaldo subs himself off, causes split amongst the fan base? What are you doing?
All right. Well, look, the camera's blinking red. So I think what we do is we jump into the picks real quick because certain fans are really keen to see us play the FIFA thing, which we will do. But just to recap, last round of picks, I lost again. But I lost off the United game.
Well, I picked Watford.
Yeah,
I knew.
Yeah. Fair.
I didn't know, but it was funny.
But it was deep down.
I actually picked it for the gag. I just wanted to see your reaction when I said Watford. And it
worked.
Paid off.
Well, look,
I also picked a draw in the Burnley game, but no one cares about that.
Yeah. 3-3. Cracking game.
Yep.
And 3-3 Brentford Newcastle as well.
Yeah.
Which we both
ridiculous.
got. Yeah.
I love that James Tarkowski got 2 assists in that 3-3 draw. Centre-back just pumping the ball over the top.
Just living.
That's Burnley football, baby.
All right. Well, let's jump into the picks. And next week I'll have the battery charged so we don't have to try and whiz through this.
It's match day 13.
Yes. And it's episode 13.
Oh, it's finally lined up. So satisfying. Arsenal versus Newcastle is the Saturday night game. 11:30 p.m. kickoff time. Pretty tasty one.
Yeah. Look, Eddie Howe missed his first game in charge because he tested positive for COVID. But they got pretty good result, 3-3. Joe Linton on the score sheet. But I've gone Arsenal. I think even though the loss to Liverpool was a big one, I still think they have the quality over Newcastle.
Arsenal are pretty professional about keeping the ball, minimising defensive risk, and eventually finding a way through against these lower Premier League sides in the table. They're quite well set up for that kind of thing. It's when they try and adapt that game plan against a top team, it all comes unstuck, as we saw against Liverpool.
Yep.
But they'll beat Newcastle, I think.
Yeah, easy.
Next up, Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa.
So, quickly, the most viewed clip on our YouTube channel with over 350 views, all organic, by the way. I don't do any marketing or whatever.
You think we have the budget to...
No, this isn't very low budget. The camera's literally out of battery as I'm talking to you, so... is the segment we did where we both kind of apologized for writing Crystal Palace off earlier on in the season. And a few very passionate fans came out on that video. It was most viewed on our channel, letting us know that Crystal Palace are now overpowered and that we got them wrong. So I've gone Crystal Palace.
I've gone for Palace as well. I don't think they've lost a home game this season.
Incredible football.
So, they're well coached. I think they'll get the job done against an Aston Villa team who has Steven Gerrard in the dugout, but even though they won last week, I don't think he's had that much time to make an impact there.
He did say no more ketchup at the club. No more tomato sauce. It's all instant percentages, you know what I'm saying? The sugar in the tomato sauce, he was like, it's out.
Is that going to make the difference against Palace?
Look, I don't know, but I read that on The Athletic, so it must be true.
Okay, I'm going for Palace.
Let's pick it up right here.
On this?
On this. And another camera change.
Now coming to you in webcam definition with collapsing microphones.
Yeah, look, we'll be more prepared next time. But yeah, we're talking about Liverpool.
Yes. Liverpool versus Southampton. Southampton quite out of sorts and out of form.
And they were going a bit of a run there, then derailed and losing to Norwich. My boy Pookie Blinders again got on the score sheet. But you'd think at that point Liverpool just too strong.
Yeah, it depends if Djenepo and Armstrong are fit. No, it's kidding. Liverpool's going to win. The next up is Norwich versus Wolves. Norwich 2 on the bounce after not winning a game all season and sacking their manager in between those two fixtures.
Incredible.
What?
Incredible.
That's what I think every time I see a Norwich win. What?
Yeah, makes no sense. But I've gone for Wolves. I think they're in a good patch of form, aren't they? I don't know what their recent fixtures.
They did beat West Ham, so they've got that in their favour. But maybe, just maybe.
Do you reckon they could go 3 from 3 with Pookie Blinders? No, you've gone draw.
I've gone for a draw. Yeah.
So
I've sat on the fence with this one because I couldn't pick it. So
it's a tough
what are you going to do? Norwich at home. So I thought that maybe works in their favour. And I've gone for a draw in that game just because of the boost in morale that you get off the back of that. So. I have no idea.
Double win. Dean Smith, new manager bounce.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, they didn't need a bounce. They won their last game. But anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Brighton.
I'm surprised Dean Smith didn't get fired.
Yeah, I know. It's a miracle he stayed after they continue to win games against the Norwich ethos. It is next up, Brighton Leeds.
I've gone for a draw. Both sides in poor form. I think you jinxed your boy Graham Potter after you were high on XG chat and XGFC and the band with you, him, and was it Ben White? Or no, you, him, and Declan Rice. Yep. Declan Rice on the drums. Ever since that episode, they haven't won a game.
So the bandwagon is no good.
No good. So I've gone a draw because Leeds were without Rafinha again this week. I didn't think they played that badly, but they can't seem to scrounge a win from anywhere at this point in time.
I'm getting the band back together, baby.
Oh, you're getting the band back together.
Graham Potter, you beauty. He's going to win at home and arrest the disappointing slide of Brighton this season after so many promising performances last year. Brentford versus Everton is a Monday morning kickoff at 1 a.m.
I've gone for Brentford win. I think Everton can't seem to stop the slide. They're struggling a little bit for form after what was a promising start under Rafa Benitez. But I think Brentford are just electric at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Everton played City last week, so you can't really expect too much out of them. But continually without Yerry Mina at the back, continually without Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Yes,
He's not back till
miss.
mid-December. I'm not picking Everton until Calvert-Lewin returns.
Until DCL is back.
Yeah, and they've got Brentford, Liverpool, Arsenal, Crystal Palace, Chelsea, Leicester. They could lose all of those games. It's a really tough run. So I'm going for Brentford, but it's a pretty important game for Everton when you look at their run of fixtures.
Yeah. Yes.
Burnley versus Spurs. It's a Burnley home game.
I've gone for Spurs. Just because Antonio Conte looked very, very aggressively excited after the win. And I feel...
rapping on the top of the dugout, running down the touchline. He is full of energy, that man.
He just absolutely popping off. So I think they could get it done against Burnley. But I know Burnley, very tough to play at Turf Moor.
Tough place to go.
Yes.
It's the classic cliche of, don't want to be going over there on a cold December day. Luckily, this game's in November. But I've actually,
your pick?
I've gone for a Burnley Tottenham draw because I think just the disruptive nature of Burnley's game plan tends to override the sort of midfield pressing of a coach like Conte. They don't care about playing the ball out from the back. They'll go, James Tarkowski, launch a long ball over the top. We're not going to even worry about the midfield because we'll just give the ball away. And then we'll win the second balls. Maxwell Cornet, get in there.
Oh, Maxwell Cornet, who is also on fire. He's got a cracking volley again on the weekend.
Yeah, he's in the zone. So I'm going for a draw.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Leicester versus Watford.
So here's my thinking on this one. Watford will be high off that massive win on United. And I thought they looked good, to be honest. Their front, I think it was Emmanuel Dennis, Ismail Assar. Like, they're rapid. Or maybe rapid. Harry Maguire's just slow. But also Leicester aren't playing too well. You know, they're not putting consistent run of form together that we've come to expect. I've gone for a draw there.
Leicester, I think, come unstuck against teams that press them because they don't seem to have a good relationship between attack and defence. They don't seem to react well in that moment of transition. And you saw with N'Golo Kante's goal, yes, uncharacteristic to score from outside the box, but you saw that massive gap in between the halfway line and the defensive line, who was sitting really deep for some reason. And he took that shot from... he just had an acre of space to run into and prepare himself, because Kante doesn't shoot from outside the box.
No,
but he thought, well, if you're just going to give me this much room, I'll go for it. Having said that, I don't think that Watford are going to press them. I think they're going to play pretty conservatively under Ranieri. So I think Leicester will have time to advance the ball up the field. And then they're pretty good with their possession play around the edge of the box. So I'm going for a Leicester win. I think they're going to bounce back in this game.
Don't forget, Ranieri's coming home.
Yes, dilly ding, dilly dong. And I think that United tend to make everybody look a lot better than they are.
Yes.
So their next game... You see the teams that have beaten United this season, in the next couple of games, they've dropped off pretty considerably, and that's because United's mess makes anybody look better than they are. I mean, you know, think about some of the teams that they've lost to this season and where they're sitting in the table.
Yeah,
you get your indication. So I'm going for a long way to say I'm going for Leicester in this one. And Manchester City are playing
long way to say that I'm going for Leicester. That's so good.
Well, you know, it was a very roundabout way of getting to my point, apparently. It's very late. We're recording this very late on Monday night, and we've had tech problems, so apologies if I'm going on tangents.
Shambolic.
Yes, very shambolic. Manchester City versus West Ham.
See, this is where I might live to regret my decision. Because Man City, Crystal Palace, my heart was saying Crystal Palace will get it done. And I tipped Man City because it's Man City. Pep Guardiola, the young ballers, is, you know... This one, I have the same vibe. Just because West Ham, I feel like, have a point to prove. They're like right up there. They drop points against Wolves. I think they want to bounce back strong. But again, you can't look past Man City. They're just ridiculous. They're a machine. It's just unreal.
Yeah, and it's kind of sterile watching their games. It doesn't feel like there's much jeopardy.
Yeah, it's just clinical.
Yeah, there's something soulless about it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the...
robotic.
Maybe it's the looming influence of Abu Dhabi that makes me, like... kind of squirm. But yeah, it is a little bit robotic. It is a little bit like Guardiola's literally trying to control him like he's on FIFA and he's like on the sideline. That pass in that position. But it's very effective. And
you can't look past them.
I think West Ham will struggle away from home playing against a team that doesn't allow for the sort of transitional chaos that West Ham thrive upon. So, again, we may live to regret this, but I'm going for City.
Yeah.
And Chelsea versus Manchester United rounds out the match day.
And this episode comes full circle from United sacking Ollie to Michael Carrick's first job in charge of the club and Stamford Bridge. I think we're in for a hiding.
Yeah.
I think we're just going to get hammered.
Chelsea are a well-oiled machine.
Mm-hmm.
They're fully lubed up.
Yeah. Shadow play, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just no looking past it. United are ripe for the taking.
Yep. Chelsea win.
Yeah, easy.
All right, so that leaves me, 4 points ahead?
I think you're 5-1 up on match weeks 1. We have 2 that are yet to be played out on FIFA, which I think next week I'll be better with the camera and stuff, so we'll set up and then we'll record everything. Because one fan especially has been asking, where are the videos on the FIFA? I want to see Ryan take it out. Big fans of me.
He wants to see you take it out.
Yeah, he wants me to. He wants you to see me win. Get the points on FIFA, and it's coming. It's coming. So we'll have to do that. But you are 4 points up. I'm pretty sure. We'll do the math again after, but it hasn't been good. But it's fine margins. You know what I'm saying? Who knew that Watford would happen?
Once you take it out,
depends.
It could change everything.
It could change everything.
So
yes, but
shadow play, baby.
Shadow play.